I think that's a complex question. I think that there is a growing, if you like, friction or contradiction between the political project that Brazil has put forward, mainly through UNASUR and its own foreign policy initiatives, which is rooted in capitalist market development, with some state regulation and guidance, of course, that follows along the lines of the liberal international order, advocating democracy as the principal way of governance and human rights. I don't see the same kind of political project being advocated by Hugo Chavez, Venezuela and the ALBA countries. In fact, I see something very, very different. I think that the ALBA countries have eschewed or rejected market-oriented incentives. They are anti-market. I think increasingly we've seen in each of the major ALBA countries, specifically in Venezuela, a tendency to perpetuate the incumbent president in power, which I consider a move towards authoritarianism, or at very least practices that are quite undemocratic. And there is clearly an anti-hegemonic, anti-American tilt to the Venezuelan position and to those of the other ALBA countries, whereas Brazil is willing to sit down and talk. If it's convenient, if it's positive, if it's beneficial to Brazil, then they're willing to engage. If it's not, then they're not. They're not going to be hoodwinked, they're not going to be subordinated any longer, but Brazil is pro-market, pro-democracy. There's a great deal in common with the United States. There's far less in common with Hugo Chavez, ALBA, Bolivarian, 21st century socialism experiment. How does the United States look at this? Well, that's a complicated question too, but the United States is very positive towards the Brazilian model. And it has clearly encouraged Brazil to become more engaged in the international system. There are opportunities for partnership, or if you don't like that word, for international cooperation on a functional and pragmatic basis. The United States clearly is opposed to the essence of the model that Hugo Chavez is putting forward, but the situation is complicated by oil. Venezuela is the fourth largest oil producer and one of the principal suppliers to the United States across geographically secure sea lanes. So the United States has played a waiting game rather than rising to the bait, rising to the challenges. Some of your viewers might remember the famous line of Hugo Chavez at the United Nations when he followed President Bush and he smelled sulfur on the podium. That was a reference to the devil in the United States. Clearly there's no love lost, but the United States needs the oil. Chavez needs to sell his oil to the United States because it's very heavy oil, contaminated by sulfur, and the United States is the only country with the significant refining capacity needed. So the relationship is one where no love is lost, but where both sides have benefited. And it should be pointed out that Chavez has continued to be a major client of high-end technology from the United States, and that has remained true through the ups and downs of the relationship. So they continue to work, at least on the commercial level, although diplomatic relationships have become, over the last year or two, increasingly problematic.